Hi, Philo friends, and welcome to our Philo Talk. And in today's episode, I will be sharing with you the methods of philosophizing, or shall we say, the ways of philosophy. This is once again speaking with you, Mr. John J. Pasio, teaching philosophy in the University of St. Lasal de Bacolod. All right, and if you are new to this channel, as a sign of support, please click down the subscribe button, Philo TV, so that you will be updated for new videos that I will be sharing with you about philosophy, especially on the philosophy of the human person. In today's episode, I will be sharing with you about these methods of philosophy as adhering as well to the most essential learning competencies that was given to us by the Department of Education. Of course, that's the main purpose why we are here, and I will be sharing with you these methods of philosophy. That's one. First is to distinguish opinion from truth and analyze situations that show the difference between opinion and truth, and realize that methods of philosophy would lead us to wisdom and truth, and evaluate opinions. That means we try to have this in mind, this at least four outcomes that are expected for us after you watch this video. All right. And next is topic outline. We'll be discussing about the bearers of truth, statement, and belief, kinds of truth, empirical truth, and rational truth. Generally speaking about the kinds of truth, ways of knowing the truth. At least let me present to you the three major theories of truth: Socratic methods and Husserl's phenomenological method. And the last one is the condition of knowledge. When we talk about truth, of course, it depends upon the one who expressing it. If we talk about the universal truth, of course, this will be the truth that is infinite, shall I say, infinite and universal, and it's there's no room for questioning because it's a universal truth. But as the person is concerned, especially when we talk about the relative truth and diverse experience, and that can be also considered as a truth. So to broadly construe and share it with you, as simple as that, when we talk about a truth, it is something that is opposite from falsity. And that's the main reason why we are here. All right, the bearers of truth, meaning to say the carriers of truth. These are the things that can be properly said to be true, or to which we can properly attribute the property of truth, are the bearers of truth. When you see bearers, it's something, statements, as one here, the statements, a linguistic expression of our claims, or the make claims either in terms of describing the world or asserting relations of ideas. When we say statement, it is a linguistic expression of our ideas in everything that we can associate of. So as simple as that, any statement, any linguistic expression of our ideas, of our thoughts, of our claims, can be considered or is said to be the bearers of truth. Because in every statement, in every claim, or in every expression of our ideas is considered or is said to be the bearers of truth. Example, there's a cow in the rice field. So that statement, and that statement saying there's a cow in the rice field, is a bearer of truth. Why? It's because we come to think into our mind and ask the question, is there really a cow in the rice field? And to qualify and to question and to prove this claim is to check it out whether there's a cow in the rice field or not. And that is said to be the bearer of truth, this statement. The second is the beliefs. Beliefs is a mental expression of our claims. It is made in the mind. That's according to the book that I am using, that I read. It's belief. It focuses on the mind. Okay, linguistic, mental expression of our claims in our mind. So it's just like when we focus on our belief, our imagination, as long as it's in our mind, that can be also the bearers of truth. That is why for the inquisitive mind, somehow I make fun of speculations, imagination, thinking of something, trying to prove through our mental activities whether God exists, if God exists, and then about how can I justify the existence of God in the face of evil, in the face of my own suffering and problem. All right, so that's how I look at it. So the beliefs and statements are two general claims that these are the bearers of truth. In every expression, mental expression of our belief is a bearers of truth. And once your belief is uttered, is expressed through linguistic expression, and that becomes a statement, and still it holds the bearer of truth. So now we deal with the kinds of truth. Here I'm just presenting with you the two general kinds of truth. There's so many ways, as I said it, there's so many ways of there's so many kinds of truth. But here is somehow two opposing general kinds of truth. The one is the empirical truth. It established by means of experience, from the word imply, empirical experience. According to Immanuel Kant, he calls it posteriori, and therefore a contingent truth. Why posteriori? It is the truth that we know, that we after experience, as a result of our experience. For example, I know that the fire is hot because I have touched it, and it burns my hand. So that's truth claim is an empirical truth because I know that the fire is hot right after I touch it, I experience it, and I feel it. I feel I'm burning my hands because I touch it. So that's simple as that. Empirical truth. These are the truth based on our experience. Through what? Through our physical senses or external senses. All right. So the second, before that, George Berkeley said, George Berkeley is somehow called from the other philosophers a follower of, or the students studying philosophy. They attributed him or called him as an idealist or rationalist, but it doesn't matter. For them, for George Berkeley, he is also a bishop, and he said that nothing comes into the mind without passing it first through the senses. And in this way, these claims make George Berkeley an empiricist because he said it. And it's quite true. For example, I call it is a mug of coffee. It's because I experience it, I see it. So therefore, I have an idea that this is a mug because I experience this matter, the external aspect, and therefore I call it as a mug. The opposite to the empirical truth is the rational truth. This is the kind of truth that is established by means of reason. Immanuel Kant calls it a priori, and therefore a necessary truth. When we say a priori, it is a truth claim prior to experience. For he said, nothing comes into the senses without the mind interpreting it. For example, I call it as a mug, again, in the context of irrational truth, of truth claim, it is because I already have the idea of what mugs look like. For example, how can I call it a mug if I do not have an idea of a mug? So therefore, when I see this material that I am holding right now, this mug, I call it a mug. It's because I already have the prior idea, a priori. I have an innate idea about what mug is all about. And it's actually supported or a reflection from the claim of Plato in the world of ideas, where ideas are immutable. It's immortal because after the soul or the form of the matter will depart and to another, will go back to the world of idea. So that says nothing comes into the senses without the mind interpreting it. So it's actually a two contrasting worldview, and in fact, it still holds true both. That I call it a mug, it's because I already have the idea what is mug all about, and I know that's a mug, and that's for the rational truth. I call it a mug, it's because I see the matter, the material, and then there's a mug. If this material mug that doesn't exist, I cannot call it a mug anymore. That's for the empirical truth, experience. And later on, we'll go deeper into that through the work of Aristotle about the perfect existence, which is the matter and form, the idea and the material and the form, and that it bridges the gap between the rational and empirical truth as far as my personal reflection is concerned. All right, so that's the two general kinds of truth. Anyway, there's so many ways or there's so many kinds of truth, but these are two contrasting views on the kinds of truth that I want to share with you. Now we go to the ways of knowing the truth. How do we know the truth? How do we know that what we know is true? That talks about epistemology. And at the same time, how do we qualify that what we claim is really true? And that can be tested right now, right here, by the different ways of knowing the truth. So in other terms, the ways of knowing the truth, it refers also to general methods of the truth. So we have here for the philosophers, they made this idea or come up with these three theories of truth, consisting of the correspondence, coherence, and pragmatic or pragmatism. Correspondence theory says when the statement or belief is true when it corresponds to or represents a fact in the world. As simple as that. For example, when I made us say, there's a cow in the rice field. So to make it a logically coherent and to make it to justify that my claim in the context of correspondence theory is that to go outside, check it out. And if there's a cow really outside on the rice field eating grasses, and that's truth claim is indeed a truth claim, that statement is indeed a truth claim, it's because it corresponds to reality or statements or represents a fact in the world. The second is the coherence theory. It says when a statement or beliefs is true when it coheres to the rules of the relevant system. For example, 1 plus 1 equals 2. And according to the coherence theory, 1 plus 1 is indeed 2 is because it coheres to the principle of addition, and that 1 plus 1 equals 2. So we can try to look at in the different contexts. That's by mathematics. As long as there is a system, as long as there is a law that says, as long as there's a coherence with to the relevant laws or system or a principle, and that statement is said to be true. For example, if I made a statement, killing people is punishable by law, right? And that statement is a true statement. It's because it coheres to the law that prohibits killing, and of course, it also coheres to the principle of life, the right to life, that all of us has the right to life, and therefore it follows the argument that killing is prohibited, punishable before the law, and it is indeed a mortal sin. And that's a coherence theory. It coheres to the system, it coheres to the laws, principles, or whatever that has a universal claim where we can attach to. Okay. And the last one is the pragmatism or pragmatic. It is from the word practical, pragmatic. These statements or belief is true when the result is beneficial. So in the pragmatic theory or theory on pragmatism about the ways of knowing the truth, it's actually talks about axiology, about the value, about the result. If the result is beneficial, if the result is good, and that therefore it becomes a pragmatic, and it's true. For example, I can only make a truth claim that our relationship with my partner is true if there is something good in it, if there's something, the benefit that we get on it. So the benefit that we are so positive, looking forward for a better life, the benefit that we are building together our own family, and that becomes pragmatism, practical, and that becomes a truth statement about our relationship, that indeed there is a truth value and there is a good result of our relationship, and it's true. So these are the three different theories or views that was speculated and have think of the philosophers in the philosophical arena, and trying to present the general ways of knowing the truth: correspondence, coherence, and pragmatism. I want you to think of it. Just try to speculate any news media statements or any words uttered by your friends or promises made by your friends or loved ones. Try to check it out by just this simple ways of knowing the truth: correspondence, coherence, or pragmatism. To check it out whether they are telling you the truth or they are sincere with you. And in fact, for me, as far as my life is concerned and experience in philosophy is concerned, I always go back to these ways of knowing the truth before I accept any statement or any claim by the other people or any articles that I've been reading, whether it be in a newspaper or in the social media platform that I have. All right. To move forward, the second is the Socratic method. Let me present to you about, of course, this is the work of Socrates and through the writing of his student Plato. The Socratic method is just simple. This is actually what usually did by the teacher inside the classroom. It is a didactic dialogue of questioning that is expressed in critical examination and cross-examination of the positions of every participant in the dialogue. It's just like a question-answer portion. Dialogue will be dialogue. It's not about listening. Of course, it involves about listening, but more than that, it's a listening, then the asking questions, and then answer, and then asking questions. It is neither a rhetorical nor a debate. When we say rhetorical, it is an art or persuasion. So the Socratic method is very helpful when we try to persuade somebody and make them accept and believe in our own truth claim, because it's an art of persuasion, or nor a debate whereby trying to provide a substantial and essential evidence that will support our argument or our claim. So that's how we look at it. It's both on examination of and cross-examination of the arguments. In this way, the participants in a dialogue do not force-fit their own beliefs to others. It's just like allow the people, the person you are talking with, to express their ideas, and then you can ask questions about their ideas if you're in doubt and there's something needs to clarify, and then you can share as well your own views and ideas about it, your own beliefs about how you look at it, and then without forcing them to accept your claim. So it's actually just like a dialogue between the two or a group of people. It is called a meiotic or an intellectual midwifery, because in this way, this becomes a cure to one's ignorance. And for Socrates, his famous saying, know thyself. And through this series of dialogue, we can know ourselves better. The way we express ourselves to the society, to other people. And of course, we can have our own dialogue within ourselves. Mental dialogue, asking and questions about ourselves, about our experience, about our career, about our future, and then try to open a lot of possibilities and answers to our questions. And we can have that mental dialogue. And it's an intellectual midwifery according to Socrates. He made mention to his students that first you must accept or you must recognize that you are ignorant. And that moment that you claim you are ignorant, that means it enters your thirst for curing your ignorance, and that means you wanted to know more, to know the truth. And that's the cure for ignorance. That's why it's called a meiotic or intellectual midwifery. This will cure your intellectual ignorance. All right. To continue on Socratic methods, it's a dialectic or Socratic dialectic as well. It's called an active agent. Who's the active agent here? Of course, the students, if inside the classroom. That's why I made mention a while ago. It is commonly used by the teacher inside the four walls of the classroom. A Socratic dialectic where the teacher will share his ideas and ask the student a question, and then or the student will share their ideas and ask the teacher a question. Therefore, in this way, the active agents in the acquisition of knowledge would be the students in the context of the classroom. All right. The Socratic method, we have these three steps in arriving the truth, because the only purpose of this method is, of course, to know the truth. So here, step one, give an initial definition of a thing or a concept, for example, a table. And then the initial concept of a table would say, you can say, a table is a four-legged furniture. Step two, you can look of another characteristic that captured the initial definition. For example, is the table a cow? It's because drawing from your first definition or initial definition of a table, saying it has a it is a four-legged furniture, and the cow has also a four-leg. Therefore, you can somehow associate these two definition. The step three is to give a new definition, and you would say a table is a four-legged furniture made up of wood and has a flat surface. That is why for the Socratic, these three steps in Socratic method. Step one, a table is a four-legged furniture. Is the table a cow? Of course, you have that mental activity. No, the table can never be a cow. Therefore, the third step, the last step, a table is a four-legged furniture made up of wood and has a flat surface. In this way, you can make a clear definition of a table by saying a table is a four-legged furniture made up of wood, has a flat surface, rectangular in shape, and is used primarily for dining or putting things on it. All right. So here, another example for the Socratic method in arriving the truth or Socratic dialectic. Freedom is the ability of the human person to do whatever she wants to do. Well, it's true. Second step, am I really free to kill my enemy simply because I hate him? And that's my freedom of doing what I want to do. And then on the third step, you can say, no, we cannot just kill anybody we want to kill. There are rules to follow in a civilized society. So in the third step, you think of the moral dilemma. You would think of, for Sigmund Freud, you would be balancing your ego and think of the moral judgment, whether you would kill because you hate them or not. And of course, you would come to the conclusion that you cannot kill somebody just because you hate them, because killing is morally evil in a civilized society. Why? It's because there's a standard, there's a system in the society, there's a law that prohibits killing in that particular society. Therefore, Socratic method enables us to move from the state of not knowing, ignorance, to that of knowing. And then that's the intellectual midwifery. Socratic method, therefore, is also often called a Socratic dialectic. And now the last one is the Edmund Husserl's phenomenological method. When we talk about phenomenology, of course, I share it with you in the previous definition of branches of philosophy. Phenomenology is from the Greek word phenomenon, which means appearance or physical, or phenomena, physical, or what appears, and the logos, meaning reason or study. Broadly construed, though, it is a study of phenomenon or what appears, meaning to say, it is the study of anything that exists of which the mind is conscious. So here, take note of this, is consciousness. Consciousness, therefore, in phenomenology is very crucial, is very relevant, because without your consciousness, you can never arrive to truth. And it is through your consciousness becomes the easiest way for you to arrive to the truth. Through consciousness, you will investigate the essence or the nature of material things, or things that appear to us, the appearing phenomena, the things that appears into our mind, the things that captures our triggers, our consciousness. That is why Edmund Husserl calls it, what is refers to the things that we see, that captures our consciousness. So to do the phenomenology is to go back to the things themselves, the things that appears to us. Phenomenology, therefore, attempts to describe what is given to us in experience without obscuring preconceptions or hypothetical speculation. So it is good. What appears to us, leave it there because this is it, and then just simply describe it, given to without obscuring our preconceptions or biases. So that is why in this way, phenomenology attempts to describe what is given to us in experience, what appears to us in experience. It deals with the determination of the nature and structure of the human consciousness or conscious experience. It reflects upon our immediate or lived experience. It talks about experience. So phenomenology will simply talks about our experience. And in this way, we know the truth. It's because we try to know and dig deeper into our own experiences. And of course, that's why to simplify it, let me present to you how do we do the Husserlian's model of phenomenology. So take a look with your experience right now. Please hold on that experience by trying to use your consciousness. So the first step in knowing the truth using the methods of phenomenology by Edmund Husserl. First step is the epoche, meaning the bracketing. There's a mathematical language. Bracketing means we need to put, sorry for the the typographical error, to put inside the bracket all our natural uh, attitudes of our object of inquiry. Natural attitude means our advanced concept like prejudices and biases. For example, I cannot think of a bracket. Oh, this is a bracket. I hope you can see it. So on things that appears to me, for example, this mug, I would try to put this at a bracket. This is how it looks this way. So I just simply live through my experience here, live my conscious experience about the mug, put the bracket on it without bracketing all my biases. And we go to that's just like advancing the concept like prejudice and biases. That's our natural attitude. So meaning to say, before we make judgment of our not from our natural attitude about the mug, it's good to put that prejudices, judgment, biases inside that bracket so that we can allow this material mug appears to us through our experience without infusing our own biases, misconceptions, and prejudices. And that's our natural attitude. Why? It's because, for example, when you see a tattooed man walking on the street, your natural attitude would be, or our natural attitude would be, we can say that man may be a killer. Okay? Because he's a tattooed man. That's our natural biases. Applying epokoi is that put inside the bracket that prejudices and biases. Simple as that. And then we go a little bit deeper into the step 2 is the phenomenological eidetic reduction. Eidetic is from the Greek word eidios, meaning or idea, meaning shape or form. Here, we try to reduce the object to the level of the mind, analyzing essences that is free from prejudices. So meaning to say, without my biased judgment or bracketing or epoche, my bias judgment about this mug, I go a little bit deeper by asking, what is this thing? What makes this thing a mug? And that's a mental, let's say from the material, we try to reduce it going to our mental inquiry about this mug, asking, what makes this a mug? And in this way, we talk about or go deeper into the essence of the mug. What makes this mug a mug? What is the essence? What is the purpose? What is the use? What is the meaning of this mug to me? So we reduce the activity going to our mind. And the last one is the phenomenological transcendental reduction. It's more on deeper. And this way, we reduce the object to the level of the mind. It is the interplay between the I thinking and the thing that I thought. So here, let me present to you again about this mug. We can only claim, and our claim that this is a mug would be universally true after we go into the phenomenological transcendental reduction or the step 3 in Husserl's phenomenology. Why? In this way, there's an active involvement between the I, which is conscious about this mug, and the mug itself that appears to my consciousness or captures my consciousness. So there's so many critique about the work of Husserl in his phenomenology, but as far as my experience of his work is concerned, through my professor, I think I captured it well, that it is not in his phenomenological transcendental reduction, it is not only the I who is superior, who interprets, who make a claim about this mug, or make judgment about this mug, but it is the interplay between the I who is conscious about this mug and the mug itself that appears into my consciousness. Why? The danger is that if you put superiority so much on the I thinking being who is I conscious about this mug, you would make a subjective or relative interpretation of the mug, and it can be a biased interpretation, making your own judgment because or through your experience about the mug. But in this way, allow the mug to unpack itself, what really it is, into your mind, and then try to speculate and interpret what this experience of a mug will look like. And in this way, we can draw into the conclusion and somehow arrive into the universal concept that indeed this is a mug, this is how it looks like, it is used for coffee or drinking coffee, and so on. So example, another example, a table. Our basic understanding of a table, we may say a table has a four legs, a table is made up of wood, a table has a flat surface, a table is a rectangular in shape, a table is used primarily for doing or putting things on it. We try to describe the table itself that appears into our consciousness. We look at this table and we describe it based on our conscious involvement of the table that appears into our mind. Or we may ask the following: would it still be a table if it has no legs? Would it still be a table if it has no flat surface? Would it still be a table if it is not made of wood? Would it still be a table if it is not a rectangular in shape? And would it still be a table if it is not used for dining or putting things on it? And then you made it to the conclusion saying, oh, aha, what a table is that? A table is a four-legged furniture made up of wood, has a flat surface, rectangular in shape, and is used primarily for dining or putting things on it. In that way, you made a general and universal truth claim of a table based on what you experience or what you see about a table. But it is not just you who interpreted what you see, but of course by allowing what you see appears into your mind. That's why the famous saying of Husserl is that go back to the things themselves, because the things themselves that appears to your mind will share so much or will show a lot of things about it into your minds. The things as we experience them rather than take them for granted. That's why what made me so passionate about phenomenology is that in phenomenology, you will learn not to take for granted in anything. You will never take for granted the people you love the most. The things that you value, you can never take for granted. Your friends, you can never take for granted. If you are keen enough to go deeper about understanding phenomenology, right? Because it's just like you see things as it is without your prior judgment. For example, if I saw a tattooed man on the street, I just look at him as it is, and then without my prior judgment, trying to set aside my biases about a tattooed man, and then just try to allow to talk to this man until he would unpack himself who really he is into myself. All right, that's a conscious involvement between my thinking being towards the thing or the object of my thought. That's why in this implication of pure phenomenology, the relation that consciousness is not intentional, is intentional, therefore consciousness of about something or direct toward a phenomenon or what appears. The intentionality of consciousness, always an act of doing something. Your consciousness, to be conscious is to experience, or an act of knowing, which is called noesis in Greek. And then the actual thinking of the definition of a table, for example. And then always referential, because it's always pointing or referring to something. And therefore the consciousness is an act of awareness in which the subject is presented with, or so-called noema, or it is a referent. Noesis is the act of our consciousness itself, and te noema is the object of our consciousness, or the table as referent. All right. And the last one is the condition of knowledge. How do we know what we know is true? Of course, if it has a justification. We have different kinds of knowledge. Knowledge by acquaintance, it refers to the familiarity of place and person. By saying, I know that person, I know that place. The practical knowledge refers to the knowledge of skills. I know how to cook, I know how to dance. That's our refers to our skills. And the third is a propositional knowledge. It refers to the knowledge of facts, situation, or anything that can be true or false. We use our rational investigation. I know that blah blah blah. I know that Manila is the capital city of the Philippines, and then therefore, any truth claims, any truth statement is said to be true if it has a justification. And how do we make justification or clear justification of our truth claim or belief? Is just we go back again to the general ways of knowing the truth. Coherence, correspondence, pragmatism, and of course we can also specifically use the phenomenological methods of Husserl and the Socratic dialectic of Socrates. All right, I guess with this topic, you will know now how to distinguish your opinion from truth. And I know you know now you can analyze equations that show the difference between opinion and truth. Of course, if it is opinion, it needs further elaboration or justification. And then realize that the methods of philosophy would lead us to wisdom and truth, and then evaluate opinions. Simple as that. We can evaluate opinions through those ways of knowing the truth, general ways of knowing the truth, and specifically Husserl's phenomenology and Socratic dialectic. All right, that ends for today because this video presentation for this is intended for my philosophy students in the senior high school in the University of St. LaSalle de Bacolod. So just try to minimize it. Thank you so much for staying with us today. I hope you will learn. Just write down your comments and suggestions or questions about the topic that I presented to you. Thank you very much.